everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mandy and I'm a full-time reseller. On today's video, it is my What Sold Wednesday video, so I am going to go over everything that's sold for me on Poshmark, eBay, Mercari, and Depop for the week of October 21st through the 27th. I don't think I had any sales running on eBay. The hat one might still be on there. I can't remember if that was still an ongoing thing or not. On Mercari, I do send offers periodically through the day. I will also do that on eBay along with Poshmark. I did not use closet clear out or send any dramatic offers on Poshmark either. I don't really have any notes. Normally I have stuff to tell you that happened through the week on the different platforms. This week it was kind of a tie between Poshmark and eBay, which is kind of interesting. Depop a little bit slower and Mercari was very, very slow. Mercari is either really good or hardly anything, which is fine. It's easy for me to cross list there. I do pick up, a couple sales every now and then, so I do think that it's still beneficial to use. I don't have to pay anything. All I am using is my time. An update on the dress from Poshmark. I guess I have to eat my words on this one. I never heard back from the buyer at all. I wasn't rated. I wasn't messaged or anything saying it didn't come in time, so I got paid and that's that. So I guess it ended up working in my favor. I do have a mask though that someone had asked if I could send it out. I did send it out the first day that they purchased it. I don't know if it's gonna make it there in time. It was supposed to be there yesterday, which would have been Tuesday. I'm filming this on Wednesday. I'm assuming they need it for Halloween. It's from Poshmark. She was very, very nice though, so I don't think there'll be a problem there. I will get to that sale here shortly. So I will just get going and scoot over so I can pop up my sales here. With Poshmark, these were a pair of Prana bootcut pants. They were new with tags. These did actually sell on eBay a couple months ago, I think at this point. They returned them. I put them back up for sale, and they only went for $25 on Poshmark. I did get them for $1.99 on clearance at Goodwill. Next up is a vintage Levi's Panatella, I think is how you say it. This came in that lot where I was helping clean out the house with all the clothes and everything. That is a haul. You can watch that video if you'd like. This one went for $50. I am very happy that it did go for that much. I had never heard of the brand Panatella. I don't know if it was an offshoot of Levi's or if that is a certain cut or style of jacket. I'm not sure, but it was from the 70s and it did go for $50. Next up is O'Neill. This is a brand that I have pretty much sworn off, even if it is these rash guards. I guess maybe I would consider it if it was at the bins, new with tags, maybe a couple in the same size so I could bundle them. I can't get more than $10, $15 for these. So someone offered me $10. That was fine. I picked this up at the bins quite a while ago. Next is a Beatles skirt. This I picked up last year at the bins. I thought it would have went a lot quicker. It was an upcycled skirt, so someone had handmade this. It had the traditional Beatles Abbey Road, graphic on it. Stretch. It didn't have a size, so I did, measure it out and said an extra large would fit. This was a style pickup from Christopher & Banks. That brand really doesn't mean anything to me. It was linen, it was black, and then it had neon flowers that were kind of falling, I guess, and then collecting at the bottom. I got this at the bins a couple weeks ago. I went back and forth and if I should get it or not. I'm glad I did because it did sell within 3 days for $22. Next is the mask that I was talking about. This is Mars Attacks. If you haven't seen this movie and you're kind of into funny horror, give this one a shot. It's definitely from I think late 90s, early 2000s. This was picked up at that bin store. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with this, if I was going to keep it myself and just kind of put it up on my shelves or sell it, but I did end up listing it. Just, if no one would have bought it after Halloween, I maybe would have put it up as decor, but it did go for my full asking price of $20. Next up is Cork Ease. I believe that's how you pronounce this brand. I picked this up at Goodwill on clearance, $3.99. It's a distressed brown, it's a distressed blackish red tone boot. It's very steampunk. These were a size 8.5 and they did go for $40. Next up is an Athleta dress. I did show this in a haul last video, I think it was. This sold almost immediately for $40. I believe that was my full asking price on this one. If you could find this in black, that seemed to do a little bit better in pricing, but like I said, this was a 1X and it did go very quickly. Next up is White House Black Market. This is a brand that I'm pretty particular on. I stick to more substantial pieces, so jackets, sweaters that have good material, longer length dresses, or more formal dresses. Blouses, that kind of stuff, if they're very, very lightweight, I'll pick them up and throw them in a thread-up box. I can normally, get $4 to $5 on those. This was a button front with like knitted sleeves, and it was a size small. This did go for an offer of $30. Next up, this vintage Calvin Klein's dress. I went back and forth on if I should have taken this offer. I listed it for $135. It is vintage from the 90s, made in Hong Kong. Comps were a little bit all over the place. This was an extra large. It didn't have any size tags, but it measured out to be about an extra large, which you don't always find in vintage silk dresses. So I listed mine for $135. Right away, someone offered me like $60, and I was like, I just got it out. So then I think I dropped it, or I asked her, so I countered back at like 95, and I think she said 70, and I just went back to 95, or maybe it was 100, I can't remember. And I figured, I haven't even listed this yet on eBay or any of the other platforms. I'm just going to see what happens. Then I think 2 days later, she came back with 80. I thought, let me just take a look again at comps. I did, some were 40, some were 60, some were up in the 135s, but I was like, I picked this up at the bins. I don't want to be greedy. If I can pay $2 for something and turn around and sell it for 80 in a couple days, why not? So I did let it go for 80. I hope she loves it. It is very pretty. Kind of like a muted floral dress. Other bins pickup that was style based, but I do believe the brand is something to look for as well. Michael Simon, just the way that this looked, I was like, I need to look into this because it had, it wasn't like handmade, like someone had made it. It had a brand to it. And since it's so quirky, that normally, gives you some sort of clue like this might be worth something. So depending on the styles and what kind of quality your sweater is in, this could go for upwards of $100. I had mine listed, I think for $100. I listed it a couple months ago, and immediately someone sent me, I think it was a $60 offer, and I was like, oh, do I take it? Once again, it came from the bins. I kind of went back and forth with them. Someone else offered me, $50, and I was like, I just listed it. There was some staining on it, but I ended up relisting it again. And then at this point I was thinking I should have just taken that $60 because there wasn't much interest any longer. So when I relisted it, someone came back at $60, and I thought, I'm just going to take it because, once again, I paid probably $3 for it and got $60. So this was a pretty quirky looking sweater. The last sale on Poshmark is this origami. I found a bunch of these pieces, all plus size at the bins. Originally, I looked at them and I was like, nah, I don't think this is anything. And then once I started finding more, I was like, maybe I should look at this. So like I picked one up. It might have been this one because I thought if anything, I can use a lot of keywords for this and it'll probably sell. And comps were pretty good. Some were really low, but some were really high. So I figured if I can add, those value added keywords, I can probably get some decent money for this. This did end up going for $38. The one and only sale on Mercari was the mushroom eyeglass holder. I did have it listed for $19.99. Someone came in and offered me $15. With Mercari, I'm definitely a lot more lenient on what offers are coming in just because I am getting that amount. So even on, let's say if this would have sold on Poshmark for $20, after fees and everything, I would have only gotten 16. So it's pretty comparable. So I figured, you know what, that is fine. I didn't pay anything for this. So that is, pure profit of $15. Now onto eBay. This was a woven straw hat I got at the Goodwill bins a couple weeks ago, maybe. I don't think it's been months. I think it was just a couple weeks ago. This one did end up going for an offer of $15. It was a little like dented in certain places. I'm sure there's a way to kind of steam that out. I didn't even want to bother just because it came from the bins. I listed it as is. Next up is vintage Carhartt. This was a heavier weight button front flannel. I've definitely slowed down on these unless I can get them at the bins. I'm definitely not paying, $7, $8 for them at Goodwill anymore. I don't know if the fad has kind of, subsided a little bit or if this just isn't what people are looking for because I'm having a really hard time moving the Carhartt flannels, even the vintage ones. This one did end up going for my full asking price of $25. Next up is Pole or P-O-L. I'm not sure what this brand. I got it based on style. I was kind of thinking Eras Tour, Taylor Swift, that kind of thing, New Year's Eve, possibly a Halloween costume. Picked this up at the bins and it did go for an offer of $23. This Cabana Life, I picked this up at the bins and I was like, ooh, this feels really cheap. But then I looked at the tags and it was like, oh, it's UPF, plus 50 or whatever. So then I thought, yeah, maybe I'll look it up. I'm glad that I did because this is pretty expensive new, and this was new with tags. I did have it listed for 50. Someone offered me like 35. I came back with 40. We are out of season, and they did accept that, so that was a great bins pickup. Next are a pair of Asics women's volleyball shoes. These were picked up at the bins when they were still doing shoes. They no longer do that at my bins. They were in great shape except for just kind of like the toe boxes. They were a size 8.5, which great size. Someone offered me 21. I thought that was more than fair. Next up is a pair of Express like sailor style shorts. I picked these up because I knew someone was going to want this for probably like a Halloween costume, some sort of pinup girl, something along those lines. Someone did send me a message and it was like a really low offer, like $11 or something. And I was like, nah, I'm not going that low. We did end up meeting at $16.50 and he was like, is there any way you can get this out right away? He lived in Chicago. He needed it for a Halloween costume on Friday. So it did end up getting there, which was great. I didn't think it was going to. So I hope whatever he was, it turned out great. Next up is a Jordan Jumpman hat. This was an infant size hat that came in that Goodwill blue box. It was new with tags. Had it listed for 16, let it go for 12. At this point, I have like doubled my money, I think, already on that box. So everything is just pure profit. Next up is All in Motion. These might be coming back. The buyer seemed to be kind of new to eBay and didn't really understand how returns worked. They said they were too short, something else. I said, unfortunately there were measurements provided. I do accept returns, but you will have to pay for shipping. Then they're like, well, what's your address? And I was just kind of like, you need to do it through the app. You can't just send them back. So I haven't heard anything back at this point. I'm sure they realized what shipping would be because they've already paid it once and now they'd have to pay it again. So we'll see if these end up coming back. They did go for $20. These are a pair of Coach boots. I picked these up at Goodwill for $12.99. They did have like an as is sticker on them. At first I thought it was because maybe Goodwill thought these were supposed to have laces because they do have the little holes, but there were no laces. I did a Google Lens search and this is how they're supposed to look. But after I got them home, really looked them over, one of the little, I don't even know what you call it, like eyelet hooks, like where you would hook laces, was busted off on one of them. I figured that wouldn't be a deal breaker just because they don't have laces, so like you wouldn't have to use that. So I did have them listed for $50. These had quite a bit of attention on all platforms, but they did end up going for $40. Next up is one of those witchy black dresses that I've been finding at the bins pretty frequently. I kind of made a mistake on this one. I had this one listed for $40 and I probably could have gotten closer to that. Someone did offer me $28 and I thought it was a different dress. I thought it was a different one that wasn't as elaborate as this one, and unfortunately I accepted it. I'm sure I'll find more of these, but that is just a lesson for me to remember, to actually go into the listing and look at the full dress just because I have so many that look like this. I'm assuming she was using it for a Halloween costume. She also needed it by a certain date, but I believe that one is already there. Next up is J. Jill. This was like a kimono open front cardigan, size extra large to 3X. This was picked up at the bins. I had it listed for $30. I do tend to price my J. Jill a little high, I think, but it did end up going for an offer of $20. Next up is American Eagle. This is something I probably should have left at the bins. I do have a hard time with new with tag stuff. If they're like, mall brands, just leaving them. I did take an offer on this for $13. I had it listed for $18. Should I do that in the future? I don't know. I thought, maybe some keywords would help it, and it was an extra large. It did probably take a couple months to sell. Next up is a True Religion shirt. I have had this for a really long time. I thought the graphic would sell this. It didn't. It did finally end up going for an offer of $14. Next up is the first part of those needle points that I showed from the Goodwill bins. The bigger ones that I had in that lot, I've decided to sell in a rummage sale. Some of them were kind of dirty. I didn't really know how to clean it because it's like yarn. I didn't want to have it fall apart or anything. So that I'm selling in a rummage sale, but all the smaller ones I do have for sale. This one sold for my full asking price of $20. Next up is a pair of Tahari slip-on mule, like suede shoes. Very Christmas, very holiday. I've had these for quite a while. They came in a thredUP box at least probably a year ago, would be my guess. I offered them $20 just because I'm ready to see them go, and they accepted. Next up is a Blair quilted, like floral, lighter weight vest. Would I pick this up again? No. I think I was just kind of playing with this brand and sizing and like style-based stuff. I had it listed for $18. It did go for $16, but I've probably had it for 6 months. Now on to Depop. This was that Lacera dress. I know I showed this in a haul at some point. Very mixed match patterns. Just kind of like no real shape to it, very legging look. This one did end up going for an offer of $20. There was some interest on eBay with this one, some pretty lowball offers. This is a Batman shirt. I've been going through some of my older listings. You can tell by the background here where it's like that fake wood. Just to see what I can post to eBay or Depop. I didn't always have flip, so there are some that kind of have gone through the cracks, I guess you could say, that have only been listed on Poshmark and Mercari. Not everything is obviously going to fit on Depop, but this I figured maybe someone would want this. It was from 2003, women's, like a ringer style shirt. This one did end up going for an offer of $20 and probably sold in 2 days. So that's a little bit of a lesson learned for me, to just make sure that I am putting items where they need to be, even if they're older, because maybe there just aren't anyone, maybe there just wasn't anybody on Poshmark or Mercari looking for this shirt, but there obviously was someone on Depop. Next is a white stag. I've been doing pretty well with this brand. Do not pick just anything up. It's got to be something similar to this. Really kind of like Stevie Nicks, witchy, whimsy goth. That has been doing great in this brand. This is just a tank top. And this did go for my full asking price of $22. Picked it up the bins, probably only 5 ounces. And then the last item to sell, I've been doing really well with this type of skirt. This one was a midi length, midi to maxi in these dark florals, kind of moody looking. Have been doing great. This one did go for an offer of $15. Things I'm getting from the bins, I'm a little bit more lenient on, especially on Depop. That clientele, they don't want to pay a lot for items. So I know that I can continuously keep finding this kind of stuff at my bin, so I'm fine to sell skirts, probably like lowest would be 15. Highest, depending on what they are, like you could get 50 to 55. Once again, depending on what it is, I wouldn't just list everything at that price point because it doesn't warrant that, but only if it's something really special. So looking at the totals for this week, Poshmark, $440 for 12 items sold. Mercari, $15 for 1 item sold. eBay, $455.30 for 16 items sold. Depop, $77 for 4 items sold. So my gross sales were $987.30, and then after fees and average cost of goods are taken out, that leaves me with $723.38 for 33 items sold. Going into next week, I am definitely still working on upping my listing count through the week as opposed to the weekend. The weekends, I am only going to be delisting, relisting. That gives me a little bit more freedom to just kind of have a life away from work, I guess you could say. Sundays, I still do quite a bit of work. I am like bulk listing on Sunday, but then through the week, I'm giving myself a little bit more leniency. If I want to take a longer lunch break, or if I want to be done at 1 o'clock or something along those lines, as long as I have things, where they need to be situated. I think I'm probably going to run a sale on all, whichever ones I can. So Depop and eBay, probably on my Halloween stuff come tomorrow, just so I can kind of move some of that. Unfortunately, this Halloween, I really didn't find a lot of great decor. Normally, I find a lot of really cool vintage stuff, but this year, for whatever reason, Goodwill just did not have it. So I kind of want to get some of that stuff out of here to make room for, new stuff that's coming in. As far as videos go, this Friday I'm skipping that one. That's always kind of been my, freebie one that I will put out every once in a while. So then on Monday I'll have my booth video, like a review of how it went. I can't believe that has gone by so quickly. That will be over on Sunday in the afternoon. Yeah, Sunday in the afternoon is when I need to go pick everything up. So I have some footage throughout the month of, kind of restocking what I put in there. I will give my final thoughts on if I will do it again, if it's worth it, what my numbers were, all of that kind of stuff. And then I am also kind of working on a video that will come out, I'm not sure when, but I have been doing some research on how to source online. So if you're someone that is in an area where you don't have the bins, maybe your thrift stores aren't great, they're too expensive, I've been looking at a couple different websites. Some of them are selling platforms. So how you can buy items online to then turn around and sell them online. So I'll give you some tips and tricks and kind of show you what I've been doing to find some things that way. So if that is something you're interested in and you haven't yet subscribed, please make sure to do so. And as always, if you enjoyed today's video, please make sure to give it a like. It really helps out the channel and I really appreciate it. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.